The answer is no, we're closer to 15%. If you define it as being the use of the facility for, let's say, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, because people don't work on Saturdays and Sundays, why we're not very good. We're still well below 50%. And that's just because you can't get faculty and students to show up at some of the fringe times in the daily schedule to fill a classroom. And even then, the classroom scheduling folks at best target around 70% occupancy or use of the classroom. It's not occupancy, it's just use of the classroom. And generally you will find that no classroom is ever 100% occupied. That is, if there's 49 seats in a classroom, you may find 30, 35 people in the classroom, but very seldom is it going to be 49.
Well, I'll admit that as a power engineer in my old power engineering days, I particularly enjoyed these, what you call fringe times. That's the time we can do our maintenance, like summer August on a Friday afternoon, kind of like the one we're having right now.
No. The fringe times that I'm referring to there are 8 until 10 o'clock in the morning, or 4 until 5 or 6 in the afternoon. Those fringe times when students either want to be asleep in bed or the students want to be back home drinking and partying.
Okay, good. We'll have to, maybe that's a term of art we'll have to get defined in the new International Facility Management Standard. By the way, if you don't mind, Ted and Kathy, this is an important enough subject that I thought we'd do a little a YouTube record of it. Is that a problem, Ted?
No problem at all.
Kathy, do you have a problem with that?
What do you mean by a YouTube record?
Well, when we're in GoToMeeting, we're allowed to record our transaction, so it sees what you see on the screen right now, and also audio. So others who might want to know this, we don't get many visitors, but it's just something we do, and because we are admittedly working on a Friday afternoon in summer, and it's an important enough issue that it needs to have me fully dimensioned, as obviously Ted's doing. Is that all right with you?
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see the tape. I'll send you the YouTube clip before I loft it. In any case, just to summarize what had happened, but to summarize where we're at on this meeting, we've gone over the regulation. Let's see, here we are. This is where we're at. We're looking at this table, and Ted had said that some of the proposals that are coming out in this revision will likely, what is it, 20, where's the classroom right here? See, right now it's 25, right? And you're saying it's going down to 20?
It's just speculation on my part. I have to go back and study this in greater detail, and I've been pretty busy.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Regardless, so what we're looking for here is that there's, because of the changes in the occupant load factors here, that it's likely that we would have some additional burden in an industry where the facilities are only used, as Ted points out here, 15% of the time. So we have to be mindful of that. And I think I put this where have I put this? Oops.
Well, the other thing, Michael, is it's not so much 15% of the time are the facilities being used, because the fire marshal is going to say, well, in the event that every room in the building is occupied, the corridors and fire stairs have to be able to handle all of those people. My other argument is we never fill up every classroom. It is very rare that every classroom gets filled. And again, and I'll probably lose the argument because they'll say, well, we always have to assume the worst case. But if you assume the worst case all the time, it's just going to be costly. That's all.
It's it's a matter of peak demand. How much do we capitalize? It's like so many of our systems, we quadruple our capitalization resources for something statistically, farther out the bell curve, and that's where a lot of our cost comes in. So how do we manage that in a safe and sustainable manner? And so what's happening here, and I should tell you, Kathy, that what the horse is essentially out of the barn on this one. GSA and my colleague, one of the former Veterans Administration, I think Josh was at VA Hospital, GSA, they've approached the committee and they're not comfortable with some of the processes. And so they've written, what you're seeing on the screen now is part of the documents that are on this particular web page. You're seeing Josh's markup here, and he's trying to document procedural problems with the way committees were dealing with the information. I haven't seen it with my own eyes. Josh is a very reliable source on this, so I'll trust his judgment. This project came to us, and they had asked for our help, and I felt comfortable making the 3 recommendations. And these 3 recommendations, the origin and the justification goes back farther down into the files that you see on this project's website. He's documenting in his rebuttal letter that there were 2 committees set up, and those committees developed technical reports based on the same project, and they came to different conclusions. Now, this is the general, I believe, means of egress committee is a general, it's farther up the chapter structure of an NFPA document, so that means that it's supposed to apply to every other, to all the other chapters. And then this chapter 38 and 39 are new business and existing business committees. They came to a different conclusion. So it's not the first time that committees come to different, they have different points of view. So I felt comfortable supporting Josh in that area. Also, I personally witnessed the difficulty that NFPA is having rolling out its new software. It's not as easy as there are certain gains with this Terra system, but we've lost a lot as far as tracking ideas. And so for that reason, because I know on the NEC committee we're struggling a lot, and there are all kinds of training sessions going on. Long story short, I wanted to say, look, this is an important document, NFPA 101. Let's give it a little rest here. This is not a killer issue, except I suppose in the case of data centers, but it probably could wait, and we can deal with it procedurally in the next revision cycle. Also, Josh had brought up an idea which was disturbing to me, is that the new language would make some of the provisions from the, what's this table? Retroactive. To me, when it says it's retroactive, that even outside the context of a regular renovation project, that you have to make changes. So those are all trigger items. It's a very generic kind of a letter, and they were giving me a hard time. They said it was an ice cream cone or a vanilla ice cream cone letter. But this is about as far as I could go, because I don't know all the technicals, but I do know who to trust on these, and I trust Josh and Dave. Dave is the general services expert on this. So what you're seeing in the folder, and we are coming on to our time constraint here, is a number of documents. And I'm whistling around here, trying to get the right one. This is essentially the core issue right here. It's this table here, and it's fair to say that we also need to be mindful that there's one reasonable intention here, I thought, which was to try to manage data centers or call centers. Very often these call centers are set up so that, and I'll give you a picture of it, I need to get onto the subscription service right now. That very often these people are in very small spaces and cubicles, and let's see, 2, 5, 9, 5, I had this up but I lost it thanks to Google here. Let's see if I can, if I didn't do a miskey, let me try again. I'll show you the actual chapter, and I hope that it doesn't kick me out because I'm already on there. Here we go. All right, so let's go to chapter 38 and 39 of 101. There's 101, 101 right here. And here's the area, this is the chapter that, this is a fairly well-traveled and storied chapter in NFPA 101, and their concerns have to do with business occupancies. So it's chapter 38, and these are evidently, Josh felt that the general rules that when they are conveyed down into here, that was not a good handoff, and there needs to be more correlation. So the new occupancy definition is actually, let me see if I can call that up. They're asking for a new type of concentrated business use. Oh, here's that load, and that's pretty much all I can say about this. Let me dig that up for you so you can see the actual markup, and then I should just stop talking and let you guys ask questions. You're seeing me struggle quite a bit trying to pull it up, mindful that you guys have other things going. Let's see if I go back here again, and let's see where the markup is. Transaction support, OCC load actions. Is this the one? Nope, that's not. Oh, I thought I had marked it up right here. I thought I'd marked it up here. Here we are. Okay. So this should help you see what is really happening. These are the two areas here. This will be new. And very often we have to be careful of business use. Business use and educational use in classrooms. If I'm not mistaken, Ted, that K-12 is regarded as tracks fairly well in the building codes, but when we get into colleges and universities, the larger part of the square footage is considered business use. Am I mistaken?
That's generally correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Business or assembly.
Yeah, okay. So I do have the, as a separate discussion could be how the ICC and the NFPA 101 correlate. What's been your experience on that one? Are they roughly, the NFPA 101 is a life safety document, and presumably its foundation is inspired, it takes its inspiration from the occupancy classes of the building code. Do I have that right also, or no?
Yeah, that's right.
So this table should really correlate with ICC, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, well, let's just see if it does. Let me get my MadCat up here, and let's see if it does. Because I know that in some of the other projects I'm working on, it does not. And we're going to get to the 2012 IBC so you can see what it looks like. ICC would be right here, and the latest building code would be right here. And here you go. Here's your occupancy, use, and class and definitions. So all that stuff should be here. So what I'm seeing here, they slice it differently. Right here, when I look here, I don't see a complete one-for-one correspondence. Is that when they talk about educational groups, they're very specific about things. But I look over here, I don't see that. So educational use, this is probably the subject of a completely different discussion. Does the correlation between IBC and 101 help our industry? That's a discussion I tried to get started on student residence facilities, and we're still out there, but I didn't get any resolution on that. Any thoughts here, Ted? You can see what we have here. All right, it's not. I don't see. I see educational and business. Oh, I see educational. Okay, for students above the 12. So business,
Right.
educate. So that's what this is.
That's us.
That's us. And but down here, classrooms. This may just be 12. This may be K-12. So
yeah, it could
no?
be.
Yeah.
Could be both.
Mm-hmm. So it just strikes me that we could talk a little bit more about how these work together. But for the present project, this is the substance of what GSA is objecting to, and I'm supporting them in their objections to these changes. It's not an industry. It's not industry vetted. Again, it's University of Michigan inspired, and our hope is that others might join or at least understand.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Ted?
No, I mean, let's let the GSA carry that water right now.
Yeah. Okay. And if we wanted to talk about how that was, since we are out of time here, we might talk about that correlation in one of these meetings. But that's not. I like to have these set up so we can look at actual markups. We don't have any markup right now, but we are working on the International Building Code here at U of M. But I'm working on different parts of it, and the architects are working on that. So we're about ready to close this. We're on to 2:30. Kathy, do you have any questions?
Well, just one thought I had, similar to what we've done with the backup for our proposed changes to the NEC code, is our university, we have scheduling software for our classrooms, and so we would be able to provide data as far as, you know, how the times classes are scheduled and how many seats are occupied within each classroom. So if you needed backup to show that every classroom is not occupied 100% of the time, 24/7, we'd be able to provide data in that regard. I'm sure other universities have the same. So.
What do you think, Ted? That sounds. These committees are hungry for data.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But what is the concept? I guess I'm going to suggest. Mike suggests.
So we just went through this whole exercise in designing our new general purpose classroom, and we evaluated, you know, what our usage is across campus, and we're trying to increase our usage, you know, we built fewer classrooms than what we had, so that's a goal of ours. So that's why one of the reasons why we track the data, but it could be served for purposes.
Well, how would that data be used to transform a standard of care such that it changes meaningfully our first cost or our O&M? How would that work?
Based on the allocation, so in regards to their square foot allocation per person, but if the people are there, they need that much square footage. So yes, it's hard to, I'm not sure.
I always ask that question, is that when I have 100 opportunities that come a week, how we know we have this data, and it's been a thesis of Ted's that we have all kinds of data that we're not able to focus or to use to change meaningfully. Does this mean we make fewer classrooms? Does it mean that we can support arguments for changing the culture of the education industry? I don't have any answers. I'm just putting it up there as a jump ball.
Right. So that's what we did with our project. We incorporated less classrooms into the project, which lowered our construction costs. But we also changed our scheduling rules so that, you know, classes need to be distributed over all 5 days instead of just 4 days a week.
Yeah, and some institutions are doing that. Your real challenge is having some leverage over the faculty. Theoretically, you have to have leverage over the students. The students are the customers, but if you tell the students, look, you want to get out of here in 4 years, this is what you got to do. Get up and deal with the rest of the world.
So remember that NFPA 101 is a safety standard.
Right.
And so there's a safety problem, then there's an economic problem. We want them to work together, of course.
Right,
so
exactly.
do we make safety armor, or does safety dominate the square footage concern so much that it takes away from the economy, that, in other words, that we're paying too much for safety? How can we change this? Only to some degree can a safety standard change how first cost, well, I shouldn't say that. How can we use the ICC and the NFPA 101 process to drive meaningful changes into our balance sheets? I don't have an answer. I'll think about it, but anytime somebody's offering data, you can't let that go by. So it might be just something I personally need to think about. But
well, Mike, I think what has to happen is that you've got to find, how much of the time are classrooms or any higher ed facility, how much of the time are classrooms filled to the worst case? You can make the argument that if 99% of the time the building is well below the assumed NFPA occupancy, that it's got overkill. These guys are going to go toward at least 5 nines and prove that 99.999% of the time that you don't have that level of occupancy we might give. But my next fear is that they're going to want to go to up to 10 nines. Do you ever in the life of the building occupy the building 100%? And if you occupy the building ever 100%, then you got to do it this way.
Okay.
Right. So that would be, we could research our data to see how often that happens. And so just like in the NEC, it's more of a diversity factor in regards to sizing the corridors and stairwells. You might not change your classroom size, because you need to design that to your maximum capacity of the room. But how the occupancy of each of the classrooms relates to each other and drives the size of the corridors and the stairwells, you could look at that diversity factor based on your history of scheduling.
Okay, well, then let's
most
get...
classes are from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Your peak times, you may have all of them occupied at the same time because that's when most classes are. So it would be just study it to see what the results are.
Okay, well, let's, of course, you're not, I love studying stuff, but more than anything, I like getting ideas put in front of those committees. So I'm just going to call this, is it the 21018 IBC we're looking at? 2018 IBC, which project is that? Yeah, 1441. So we've already got, we've got until January 1st to come up with proposals. So let's just, I'll start to queue up, and we'll set up a separate breakout session on this one. That'll be what I call a markup session. If you can pull together your data, remember, we only need enough information to make an initial proposal credible. We would have up to a year to try to refine the data. So we just need enough of an idea on how the occupancy factors, or at least how Chapter 3 is developed. Now, wait a second now.
I'm going to drop off.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for your time, Kathy. I'll let you see. You can listen to this YouTube video. It's going to be about a half an hour long. And one last question, though. Does anything, they're not actually asserting occupant load factors in this chapter, are they, Ted?
Hang on a second. I'm not sure. That's why I got to go back and read it.
Okay, all right. Well, if that's the case, but if all the log occupancy load factors are only developed through NFPA 101, then that's helpful information, and then we do need to go after do have to go to 101. And even though the door may be closing in about a year, we have a chance to put new information out there. One last thing, so the next agenda item, Ted, is this is that building automation system pushback on ASHRAE 13, and then if you don't mind, we can go over the results of the first of the comments that we just got back.
Okay.
Does that make sense for you? Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. The building automation thing, that's the number of outdoor temperature sensors?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you saw that. Did you see that? I tried to prepare it's essentially a PowerPoint slide to try to demonstrate how a guide can morph and can be referenced into a standard, which is then referenced into a code. And I thought that's my point there. Yeah. Okay, good. All right, well, have a good weekend, Ted. Thanks very much for your time and expertise.
Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.